These are a few of my favorite things. I want to talk about a few of my favorite things: film photography, my favorite camera, and my favorite films. Most of you know me as a photographer since I don't know when. I think it was August in 2001 when I started photography. I remembered I was on top of the World Trade Center taking a shot of New Jersey over the Hudson 3 weeks before the World Trade Center came down. And that was how I felt like the films that I shot then and there were super important because they were tied to the events of 9/11. Film photography is the medium that I started photography with. I spent a lot of time shooting on film. I have become quite familiar with the medium. With digital photography, I went on to shoot thousands of shots a day, something that I could not do with film photography. I thought that was a really good thing that I could shoot so much. But in reality, I was wasting a lot of shots and I was wasting time. Later on, when I started film photography again, I realized that I was getting my shots earlier and shooting a lot fewer frames than I would have on digital. I think the reason is that shooting on film caused me to slow down, make it work, because it's a rather inconvenient medium. The inconvenience of film and the expense of film cause you to slow down and treat every frame as precious. The time you have with it is kind of limited because it's fewer frames a second. You have to make the most out of the money you spent on it and make the most out of the time you spent on it. Everything that you learn about photography, you bring all your knowledge to fore. You just make sure that everything is as perfect as they can be before you fire a frame. An extreme case was when I shoot on digital, I could shoot 100 shots and not get what I want. But when I shot on film, I really only needed 10 or 12 shots. That was a very good lesson for me to realize how much time and therefore money we are wasting when we are shooting on digital. It doesn't mean that you don't shoot on digital, but the approach you take to digital photography should be the approach you take to film photography. The motivations that spur you to shoot so well on film doesn't exist on digital. But imagine if you actually brought the same attitude to shooting on film to digital. Anyway, there's no doubt that film photography makes me a better photographer. I am locked in the moment, not checking previews on the camera, but continuously moving forward with each frame. I'm connecting with my subject, connecting with the model. I never break that contact. I'm always in there and focused in that very moment. There is that connection that I make with my subject, that intimacy. Amazing. They are sharp but not sharp, but they have this really organic quality to it. You don't get it automatically with digital. You actually have to do a lot of post-processing for digital to have that built-in look that film gives you already. But look, if you really want the film look, why don't you just shoot on film? I can tell you it's a super rewarding experience. I use a Mamiya RB67, which is this camera right here. The Mamiya RB67 is a 6x7 mechanical camera. It shoots on 120 roll medium format film. It's a modular SLR system. That means the back is interchangeable. The viewfinder is interchangeable. You can use a prism finder which will give you a correctly oriented image. And the lens is interchangeable. The one I have on here is a 90mm lens. The special thing about the RB is that it has a rotatable back, which is what RB stands for. You can shoot it in a vertical position like this or horizontal position like this. I think that's one of the main reasons why I like to use this camera, because I never have to tilt the camera this way to shoot vertical. How do you use this camera to shoot? First, you load the film in here, you wind the film to the first frame, then you have to cock the shutter, pull out the dark slide. There's film in here, so I'm not really gonna release the shutter. But in order to let you hear what it sounds like, I can release the shutter without the film back on. It sounds like this. So the RB lenses are leaf shutter lenses, and you can control the lens aperture by rotating this ring, changing the shutter speed by rotating this ring. Focusing is done on this knob over here. You can see the distance scales versus the lens that you are using. RB system lenses are really good, and a lot of people say they are as good as Hasselblad size lenses, which to me are pristine. Over the years that I've shot on a Mamiya, I found their lenses to be wonderful as well. They're really good, wonderful character in them. This camera is heavy, over 3 kilograms. When I first got it, I hated to travel around with it. It was just a back-breaking load to be able to carry this everywhere I go. But in the last year, I've been exercising more. I realized that it's not such a bad load. I guess I'm really getting used to the weight and hand holding this all the time. I like to use a few different films. All of them are color negative, and I bring all 3 everywhere I go. First up, in the red case, the Fuji Pro 160 NS is a color negative film rated at ISO 160. I almost always shoot it at ISO 100. It gives me really neutral skin tones and very nice light. It's the film that I've been using for quite a number of years now. I find that it's almost the perfect film for outdoors and sometimes studios. In the studio, I'll just rate it at box speed. At the moment, FujiFilm has already discontinued the 160 NS. So far, there isn't going to be a replacement. I also use ISO 400 color negative film, and there are 2 that I like to use. First is the Portra 400. I don't have any on me right now. I think it's a really wonderful do-all film. I can rate it at 100, I can rate it at 50 even, and it still gives me wonderful results. If I had one type of film only that I could bring around, is the Kodak Portra 400. I could say the same thing for the FujiFilm 400H. It's basically like the ISO 400 version of the 160 NS. I keep my ISO 400 film in this blue case. In my orange case is the last film that I carry around just in case I really need something with a higher speed, and that is the Kodak Portra 800. There aren't many 800 speed films around, and as far as reputation goes, the Kodak Portra 800 is kind of like the safest and best film to use. So these are the 3 films that I try to use. Fujifilm is phasing out, so I think I will have to start relying mainly on Kodak films. Kodak is making a comeback. They've released a ISO 3200 speed black and white film last year. Just 1 or 2 months ago, they re-released the Chrome 100 film, which is amazing. Tell me about your film photography experience and what you love about it, whether you shoot on 35mm or medium format or large format. So that's it for this episode. Coming up this year, we have more exciting episodes with film cameras and films reviews. I'm going to be doing more videos with my family. We'll also be shooting behind the scenes footage of me doing a portrait session and perhaps on location as well. I hope you guys can continue to support by liking my video and commenting below. Anyone who's watching my channel for the first time, please subscribe. As I have mentioned before, these videos are about sharing my life and the things that I love with you guys.